What's up, everybody? This is Big Swiss with 520 Collective. I am back with another episode of The Process, and I have my first return guest with Naladeus. He is joined with Soy Israel and Javi XI with the Beanies and Snapbacks crew, and we are going to be talking about their upcoming album, which is a self-titled album of Beanies and Snapbacks. What's up, guys? How are y'all doing today?
Hey, what's good, bro?
All right, we're going to do this over again. So everyone who's watching this, you can know how dumb I am. I didn't hit record on this. So we're redoing this intro.
I thought we were just going to play it cool.
I'll own it. I'll own it. We need transparency and authenticity, and we favor that in our walk with Christ. So, guys, tell me how you guys got together. How did you guys meet? How did you guys get this collaboration going?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I love how you did that. He was like, we're throwing it out.
I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it.
All right. No, man, it's all good. It's all good. So yeah, like late 07, got introduced to Soy's music when he went by Soy Sauce 1, MySpace page, talking maybe 5 tracks. And my friend, our mutual friend Eli from Chicago, he used to go by Eli Noise. We're at Mel's house, and he was like, "You got to check him out. He's really dope." Listening to his beats, blown away, because Soy would he used to flip soul samples really well. Like he still does, obviously, but he's like he's grown broader from that. But man, his soul sample flips were like nothing I've heard before. So anyway, get introduced to him like that, and then leading into 2008, mutual friend of ours, rest in peace, Crescendo. He was like, "Yo, y'all gotta cook." And then from there, from 2008 on, we've been like, this is like my brother, and we've been cooking ever since. And then that led us to the Beanies and Snapbacks project, because we've always worked on previous projects. So he's at least had like a track or two on other albums, and always worked together. And so it was leading up to, I think I said in the last interview, I think I might have mentioned this, was the hard drive situation. Then that the hard drive acting up, I was frustrated creatively. I just remember I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start right now, because I lost a lot. I think I might have lost 50 things, like tracks, and still. And so we're just talking. I remember when he's like, "Hey man, let's cook. Let's go." And then almost like that week, maybe 3 or 4 records at that point. And it just started coming naturally from that point on. And then I was like, man, we should call this something, because I feel like I was thinking like, Gangstar type of idea, or like CL Smooth and Pete Rock kind of idea. You know what I mean? Like just two amazing people. And so as a group, both needing each other, both different parts of the coin. And he also is an amazing MC. So it was like that coming together. And I said beanies and snapbacks. He wears beanies. I usually wear the snapbacks, and it sounds mad hip hop. So yeah, super boom bap in my opinion. So I was like, let's go with that.
Sweet. So when y'all normally collaborate, are you collaborating in studio? Are y'all sending each other stuff back and forth? Like, how does that work? And then what's the tension when you are in studio together? Like, do y'all get in like arguments? Do you guys like sharpen each other? Like, how does that work?
No. So it's like 50-50. Yeah. So we'll do stuff like through Telegram. And then, we'll show up usually to his studio. But like whenever we're in studio together, like there's never really any tension. Like I actually prefer when we're in the studio together, because like just being in the energy, and our energies match. Like it just it motivates both of us to really like hone in and really make sure that the track is like as dope as it can be.
It's very organic. Like like I actually feel like I prefer when Soy's there, because it's good pressure. It's not like you know what I mean? It's not like negative. It's like, man, Soy's here. I feel like I got to do better. I got to do my best. Yeah. And and vice versa. He's like, yeah, man.
But it's like when we're in the studio together, we're also like, we work quick. Yeah. Like, sometimes
that was gonna be my next question.
Yeah. Like, because I think that's the thing. Like, because I do like live streams with another MC friend of ours, Shinobi Stalin. And we do like live recording sessions where I make the beat live on the spot. He writes the raps live on the spot, and we record it, and we have like a rough mix by the end of the stream. But like people are always like astounded, like, dang, like it only took you guys like an hour to make the beat, write it, record everything. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, because we, that's how me and like Naladeus are. The same thing. It's just like, as soon as we lock in, like we both know
that's it,
what we got to do. And it's just like, it's quick. Like, even when I have to write some stuff, like, you know, if I'm writing by myself, like it takes me a while, bro. But like if I'm in the room with Naladeus and like hearing him like reciting his bars, I'm like, oh, nah, I gotta kill him like on that. You know, I gotta come up with something even harder than this. So it always
pushes
pushes
you.
me. Yeah, it pushes
Yeah,
me
yeah.
for sure. So it's like an iron sharpens iron kind of thing.
Yes, very much.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
like when y'all are doing that together,
Mm.
are y'all listening to the same things too? Like how do you come up, like for you to come up with a beat in an hour, you have to have some sort of inspiration or some sort of foundation in your head, right? Like
Yeah.
I just got into I just got an MPC like a couple months ago, like
Yeah.
just like, you know what? I just want to try it out and see what it's like. And I'll only do it when I'm hearing something that I'm like,
Right.
that's inspiring me right now. So like, what is that like for y'all?
Like so I mean, I've been making beats was like the first thing that I ever did, you know, and I started in 2004, so it's like my 19th year of making beats, and I have well over 10,000 hours and
100%.
perfecting my
You're a
workflow.
master.
So, but you know, like there's just certain things like when I hear or like I just have like a folder just full of samples that I've ripped from records and stuff, and I'll just go through and I'll be like, yo, I think that's kind of the vibe for the day, and like I'll just kind of go in and dissect it, and then you know, of course, you got to have the hard drums if you're gonna rep, you know, boom bap. The drums got to be correct, man, because you can have the flyest sample in the world, but if those drums don't knock when the beat drops, oh my god, man, it's a travesty.
His pocket is a ridiculous. Like he usually just plays everything by hand. Like as far as like all the drums together, he's playing everything right there.
Wow.
The whole pocket. He's not correcting anything. He's not quantizing anything. He's playing everything organically, natural pocket. So that's something that obviously he's curated. You know, he can play drums too, but he's curated that on the pads. It's actually amazing to watch. Like, because that's inspiring. I could watch him make beats and just be like, man, I can write just watching you make a beat because, you know, same idea. Like, so when I watch him cook, and also I'm a big person of most of the times I like the music to speak to me. So like the beat will usually dictate how I'm feeling when I, you know, write or whatever.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, let's get into the project. Thanks for sending it over early. I flew out to Jersey this weekend for a wedding, and I spent the flight out and the flight back just listening to this album, like back to back to back to back, and just writing notes. So I really, really like this album. I think this is a good follow-up for just kind of exactly what we're talking about, like that 90s era boom bap project that like I think CHH is kind of starting to get back around to. You know, Mike LV dropped that Bodega record last year that was just straight fire 90s style album. And this is like following up with that. But this is a little bit more focused because it's y'all. It's not a compilation album.
Right.
And what I liked is that this album speaks a lot about kind of, I want to phrase this the right way. I was trying to phrase it in my notes I sent to you, well, but just there seems to be a lot of correlation between being an artist, the struggle of getting through it, and getting your dreams to where they want to be, and all the people that influence you to do that, and all the people that told you you couldn't do it. I just felt like a lot of those themes were in there. What was going through y'all's head when you were creating songs like that?
Man, well, I mean, I think it's like a universal theme, right? Like, I know Soy feels that. I know I feel that. Hobby can relate. I mean, that's like, you always feel like, especially when you want to create like real art, you know, whether it's boom bap or soulful, anything like that. It's like you throw something out there, you try to put like as much as your potential into it and how you really feel into it, and you hope it's reciprocated, right? So like anything I wrote, especially specifically this project, anything that was written was like from the heart. Everything, like
everything felt really inspirational.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like the first I told Soy this, the first song that comes on, that was the first record we worked on actually, coincidentally. And when I was getting to the part where I was talking about like where I get my attributes from as a person, characteristics, I got emotional writing that, and because I was thinking about where I actually got those qualities from, and it's really those people, you know. Like, so I've never exaggerate. I don't really exaggerate anything when I'm talking about myself or make up any stories. Like most of it is all like 100% true. Anytime I reference anything from my life, it's all gonna be factual, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because I went back and watched our first interview, and I had made a comment to you about how, because that was a Menace Movement release, right? I Got Him
Right,
Money release.
right.
And those guys are like bar heavy
Mhm.
rappers. And I was there, it was very story driven.
Right.
And while you were still doing excellent cadences and bars, it just felt like you wanted us to have a clear vision of what you were saying. And you still
Yeah.
do that here. But here it just felt like you were coming out to attack, and it felt like you were doing an exact I don't know, kind of slap to my face for saying that. So like what was that process like, and how did Soy like inspire that in you?
Oh, easy, man. Just the beats, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's isn't it, the beats bring it out, but also like what you said, what people don't know is that like my origins are more boom bap and more of the bar heavy stuff. But
Yeah.
as you get older, I just feel like you get more soulful and Soy's super soulful as well. Like he has so much variety as well. So this is just like a certain part of Soy really. But he has so many different styles of beats as well. Like it's not just to this. Like he can do R&B flip, he can do different things, original, all this stuff. And so for me, it was like, yeah, I almost felt like I had something to say. You know what I mean? That's how it felt for me. I was like, man, I want
Yeah.
to say something. I want to really go back to like when we first met, and I was just all heavy on that type of stuff. And everybody said it like, man, bro, you got way soulful. Like later on, I'm like, I know. Mind you, because of my origins, like my dad
Right.
raised me on old school hip hop, like 70s, 80s hip hop, and then my brother kind of low key was sliding me the 90s hip hop stuff. Like, nah, this is where it's at now, you know. And then I was growing up on soul music, like Soy too, you know, listening to R&B from 50s, 60s, 70s, all those groups, you know, and that was my inspiration as a artist. So that was me trying to go back and kind of pay homage to the R&B stuff and soulful stuff and jazz. And then this was like, man, I need to go back to what I used to do. And so it's so funny because I'm getting known for that, and I always laugh about it because Dayton brings it up all the time. He's like, man, bro, like you really spit on this project. That was his biggest feedback on me, and I was like, bro, this is what I used to do.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well yeah, you know, like do that.
That's awesome. Well, I definitely picked up on a lot of the influences through the beats. I mean, I think I'm just looking through my notes here. I mean, the first one, I think I said, let's see, I didn't say anything on the beat on the first one other than just 90s. It sounded more like a Nas track, like from that I Am era. Actually, before I Am, I think I Am was late, but the second song, which actually has Javi on it, which you dropped the single for last week, The Feeling. The first thing I noticed, I said trumpets reminded me of a premiere beat, but the bass sounded like a 1970s funk bass that sounded like it was something from like Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt era. And I was really feeling that beat. Like, what were you like? How were you putting that together? I haven't heard those two kind of sounds go together before.
So it's funny the way that beat actually got made. I had originally made that beat. It was part of my homie Billy Davis is over from Australia, and he's a really, really dope like producer and instrumentalist. And he used to do like this Twitch stream. He used to do this Twitch stream, and he would have like these sample flip challenges, right? So I didn't do them too often, but there was one where he had like a Japanese jazz record that he wanted us to flip, and I was just like, oh, I'll take a stab at it. And I really wanted to touch on those horns, because the horns was what really like spoke to me when I heard the record. So like in my head, I was actually kind of approaching it from like a Pete Rock mindset. I was like, man, how would he do these horns? Like trying to figure out like how I wanted to layer everything and how I wanted it to kind of taper off and kind of be accented during the verse. So my thing was definitely the way I chopped it. I was I was trying to be kind of reminiscent or pay homage to Pete Rock. And then as far as the bass is, like, it's funny because I didn't start doing bass lines until like 2 years ago, and I'm 19 years into making beats. But Yeah, like I don't know. I just felt like having kind of like that electro bass noise kind of was just like a dope contrast because I was trying like a bunch of like different bass sounds and like, you know, acoustic and all this stuff. And I was like, man, when I tried like this electronic synth bass, I was like, yo, this sounds kind of fly though. Like I added like a little bit of a reverb to it. And I was just like, yeah, I think this might be it. Like, because it has like that nice contrast, like the electronic with the trumpets. I was like, yeah, it's just I don't know. Sometimes it just you just know when it's flavor. Like you just kind of sprinkling little things here and there, and then you taste test it. You're like, oh yeah, you know, like add a little bit more of that. Like that, you know, it tastes good, feels good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think what's great about that whole record is,
Yeah.
you know, one, the song's called The Feeling, and
Yeah.
you and Javi are talking about that feeling you get when you discover the sound of hip hop that inspires you to say, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I caught a ton of references in here. So the funny thing is the first song I said, I feel like he's wearing this Nas sound on his sleeve. And then you literally say it in the second song. And then Javi, you're talking about, I heard Tupac, Nas, Lauryn Hill, Fuji's, DMX. What else? I feel like I missed something still because like you kind of went through a library.
What's below the heavens when it came out the blue? You wanna explain that one? Get up here, bro.
Yeah, get in here.
Get in here, man.
Get in here.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're clear.
Yeah, so yeah, the below. So you hear all the references, which is super dope. But yeah, like right off the gate, when I was like, what's below the heavens when it came out the blue? So below the heavens, like, you know, West Coast, like just hip hop, but Blue and Exile being a producer. And
ooh,
so that was like, that was actually one of the first record I ever heard was the Tupac one, the 7 Day Theory. But the first record I ever owned for myself, as far as like an artist, was Below the Heavens. And I remember discovering that, man, and I just fell in love with like Blue style. So yeah, that's like but other than that, you hit every single one. I mean, those were all the inspirations throughout the years and stuff like that for like hip hop. And yeah, man, so that was the freaking beat drew that out of me. And then when Deus was like, hey Hav, like, yo, we're doing this record called The Feeling, and I just came up with those bars, man. But yeah, that's quintessential like hip hop to me. I'm like, yo, I just fell in love with that record. So
it took me back, man. It took me back. So I got into hip hop around middle school, which for me was like 2000 or no, 97, 96, 97. And so for you to bring all that up, I was like, oh man, this is feeling like it just took me back. Like it took me back to that era. It gave me the feeling of like, I remember when I heard my first hip hop records, which, you know, some of them were these, but for me, it was like, I want to say the first record I heard was Jurassic 5 Quality Control.
Wow. That's a great record to start with.
Yeah. I was like, what? I remember flipping on MTV and be like, what is this? And then the Roots came out with Things Fall Apart that year. And I was like, what is this? And then Mos Def dropped that year. And I was like, what is and it just kind of you know, went down that route. So, but coming from the West Coast, like definitely knew Tupac. I had actually met MC Hammer a bunch when I was a kid, which was kind of weird because I grew up in the same city he did. But like, man, all those things kind of definitely hit that feeling. And this is like, you two have been collaborating a lot. I know, Javi, you released a single earlier this year with Deus on it. Yeah. And then you're on this twice. So like y'all been cooking a lot. What's up with that?
You got a whole album, man.
The chemistry's there. Man.
Chemistry, man. It's like we just so Javi and me have a similar process with working on verses and stuff. So like this guy can freestyle. So he can just sit there and he'll be like, yo, just based off our conversation, I got 4 bars. Like he's like that, and it's dope. It's really
not,
good.
It's not the fake freestyle. Right. Like every bar, you're like freestyle off of the top, and then you go to your punchline, and then
why was that like Curtis Blow?
Yeah,
freestyle off
like
the top.
You already know. Like It's like he'll actually flow, and it'll sound like he'll freestyle, and it'll sound like an actual flow. There's no like go to like you already know. This is how we do
no
freestyle,
catchphrases.
top of the dome. Like, no.
And it's very intricate. And he thinks like that. And you know when he's cooking, because he's like, yo, I think I got something.
Yeah.
And he'll come to the crib and he'll just sit there in my studio and he'll just sit there and he'll just be kind of doing this.
Yeah.
And he'll smile. And I'm like, oh, he's right.
Yeah.
You know. And then me, I got to get my phone out because I used to freestyle a lot, but if I got to type it,
you got to
down,
practice.
Yeah.
Because of my the way my brain works, I'm scatterbrained. So I'm like, oh, I got to organize these thoughts.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've almost every song outside of maybe The Feeling, because The Feeling was done first. And then I sent it to him and then had him come over. But a lot of songs we did, you just had you come over.
Yeah.
And he like the other collab we did on this project, he came through and just we figured it out right there.
Yeah.
That was
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
Wow.
1,000%.
So is that something that you have to like practice at, Javi, or is that just natural to you?
So for me, so like they were saying, I mean, I freestyle very well. Like it just took me years of practice of just freestyling and just, so for me, it's like what ends up happening is like they said, like, it'll be based on a conversation or like a theme. They might just say like, yo, this is the theme. And what ends up happening is I'll freestyle a few lines in my head and get the cadence and then I'll build on it. And so you hit it right on the head. As I'm like doing it, sometimes like I know people like type lyrics. I might do like a voice memo or something like that just to remember a cadence. But yeah, I keep memorizing it, man. And to the point where when I get into the studio, for me, it becomes a thing of like delivery and kind of like showcasing the emotion I had when I was actually creating it.
Yeah,
so it kind of becomes I guess like a performance piece in the sense of like, not that it's fictitious, but performance in the way that I'm just trying to deliver it where people hear it and it conveys something. So that for me is like a really big thing. So yeah, I mean, by the time, and I feel like Deus could testify to this or attest to this, is like when I get into the studio, I'm kind of just like on go mode. And I'm very meticulous and like I'll do takes again and again and again until it settles well. And I'm like, okay,
it.
Yeah, that's true.
He'll know, like when I've recorded him before, we could do 10 takes and it's all clean. Like he's not messing up one time, but he's trying to find the feeling. No pun intended. Like he's trying to find it, and when he finds it, it almost is like a natural thing. We look at each other like, that's it. He's like, yep, that's it, and then we keep that take.
That's that's the chemistry part where it's like, even with the times I've been able to cook up with like Soy and stuff like that, and with nowadays is like I'll have that moment where like I'll come out like, you know what I'm saying, after we record and we'll look at each other, not a word is said, and it's like, all right, cool, let's keep it
that's
moving.
it, we know.
that was legit.
It was perfect.
Yeah,
that's legit. So what made you guys decide to make this the first single?
That's a good question. You know what, it just, man, I don't like doing the puns, but just the feeling. No, I was like, oh no. I talked with Sawyer about it. We were jumbling it around, but I think it was more Sawyer's idea actually. He was like, man, I think we should do.
So I was just listening to all of the joints, and I was just like, I mean, like with any single, you're really trying to pick the one song that would kind of embody like what the vibe of the album was going to be, and also just kind of be like that catchy thing. So kind of like just that hook to the album. So I felt like The Feeling was definitely like that hook, because the hook, obviously the chorus is like super simple, like I came here for the feeling, and then like you hear the horns kind of singing in the back as you say it. So it's like this it feels like this grandiose thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want that feeling. Like, where can I get this album? Like, I want to hear more of this, you know?
Yeah. It has like a triumphant sound to it.
Yeah,
like
it does. It does.
Yeah, like I want to run up the steps with Rocky or something.
It's joyful and triumphant.
Well, man, the next track too on this album, Beanies and Donuts, I think probably might have been my favorite track to listen to. Man, I think because too the beat on this gave me a feeling. The note I put is I wrote it as though I was like writing it like I'm like a taste tester for MasterChef or something, you know, like I can taste the notes of cumin in here. I said I also love the keys on this song, reminds me of some Crown City Rockers or High Respects, which is like a super obscure Minnesota like live band hip hop group.
Yeah.
And they have like heavy keyboard people. And so that song also gave me the feeling of like, oh man, this is taking me back to this concert. This is taking me back to when I discovered this album and when I was in the specific era of my life. And then two, man, this, you know, the funny thing is your first song is called Let Me Talk, but I feel like this is the song you're talking. Because you're like kind of calling out a lot of rappers in the mainstream who will use Jesus or God as like, oh, all glory to God, but then their life doesn't act that. And I feel like that's a lot of what we feel in CHH, even within part of the community.
Yeah,
I'm seeing that a lot lately, which is kind of a bummer.
I wrote that around the time, not to cut you, but I wrote that
you're good.
Around the time where some scandals were going around, and I kind of just said what everybody was thinking about certain artists.
That's what it felt like.
And I was like, because these are all the conversations we were having. Like, look, my thing is always going to be authentic about whatever you're doing, right? Which is part of his acronym for real. Like, you just got to be authentic, real. Like, and like, the problem is that you have people using things for clout, and that can go in the secular realm as well. It's like, you know, what can I do to get to the top, right? So it's like, oh, this is, you know, Christian hip hop. We'll use the Christian part to get to the top. But then you find out a lot of these dudes, they don't really care about any of that stuff. It's just like, well, I couldn't make it without it, you know, like, so Christian is like a niche market. And really the how to say, the assumption is Christian rap is not as good, right? So I can clean up my act, come into this thing and kill everybody. That's what they think. And then you're like, well, there's a lot of people that are dope here, buddy. You know what I'm saying? And that happens a lot. And then you see what do you end up seeing people going, oh yeah, I was never really into that. It was just a way for me to get in. That's what my manager told me. That's what my PR people told me. And it was like, bro, just be real about it. Like, don't be fake about any of that stuff. Like, Soy knows this, man. We go back so many years. Chris as well, you know, rest in peace with Crescendo. And he was always authentic about his life. He wasn't trying to fake nothing. It was like, hey man, we really believe this stuff. And it doesn't mean you can't make great art. If anything, we should be making greater art, because if we really believe it, it's like, hey man, I feel like God's given us these gifts, and we're gonna bring it with the best. That's how we honor him. It's like, I'm gonna give it the best I got, you know. So like, I was addressing some things where I was like, man, come on, bro. And this is the people, and just being very fully candid, I'm like, these are the people you guys champion, and they're not even that good, and they're getting exposed left and right.
Yeah,
like, you know.
Yeah, how do you? Now we're going to get into like the introspective part of this is like, how do you wrestle with that as a Christian, and what are your conversations like with these guys behind the scenes to hold them accountable? And like I'm starting to notice now that I think I'm actually coming up on a year of having the channel, the Big Swiss moniker.
Nice.
I started last summer, and I was off social media for like 3 years. And then I was like, you know what? I kind of want to do this thing. And some people were telling me like, you should do like a Christian hip hop channel. Like, you're so like into this thing. And now that I've been around it for a year, I'm in a lot of conversations, you know, like I'm in chats with Jared Sanders and all those guys. Like, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to a bunch of cats that are on the inside. And it's really illuminating like how we can spot those people really quickly. And to me, it's like the church I go to is so high on community and like holding people accountable and being transparent. What are those conversations like with other artists that you might interact that are kind of on that line? And how do you bring them in? Like, what does that look like?
You know what it is when I'm to not coin a phrase, but say a phrase, really. It all has to do with people who are thirsty for attention in reality. And like, it's a humility check, honestly, because even in our artistry in general, right? I always look at it as there's always somebody better than you out there, right? There's some kid, you know, in a garage with like an MPC that's like broken down, but he can make the best beats in the world. And no one's heard that kid yet because he just doesn't have access to any platform, right? Or there might be some kid in, you know, in another country right now who can out rap me right now. And I've never met him. The world doesn't know him yet, right? And the same thing with like, there's real Christians out there, and you tend to see them better in other countries, in my opinion, right? Because America's mad spoiled in general. We got a lot of good stuff, man. Like, people take it for granted. We have such a good we got a free country for the most part. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're allowed to express our opinions, and You go anywhere else, it's like, no, this is what we say
That's
you're
a
gonna
death
do.
sentence
It's
for having an opinion, bro.
right. And
Yeah.
and in other countries, man, being a Christian actually means death, martyrdom. Like just because you having a Bible means you're gonna die. You know what I mean? So I feel like the stakes here are not that high, to be honest. I think we want to die on hills that we're not supposed to die on. You know what I mean? I can go deep on that. It's like, dude, being a real Christian, showing the love of God to me when I'm around family members who may not be Christian is like, yo, just love these people, right? Be on them. Don't stand on truth, stand on all that good stuff, but it has to do a lot with the heart of a person. So, like, I meet a lot of, believe it or not, you know, I may have told him this. Like, I've met, I've met more interesting characters in that way in the Christian side of things than on the secular side of things, where they only care if you're good or not. That's it. It's like, oh, are you dope? Okay, cool. You can be Christian. That's fine. Are you dope though? Like, are you actually good?
Yeah.
Which, that should matter. That should matter.
It should.
In Christian work, it's like, well, just say Jesus and we'll take you in. And it's like, but you're not good.
Yeah,
and
like when Kanye did it.
Trash.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got a trash character and you're okay.
But I feel like that
you know?
that just goes for just music in general.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be in the space,
yeah,
have respect for the space, and you know what I mean, like, because other people have put in their time. Like, you know, I started out in CHH.
Yeah.
I've kind of branched out into being more just music in general. But like I've seen it on both sides, man. Like in CHH and in the secular world, and like with what Nalade said earlier. You know what I'm saying? Like people come in and they think like, oh, I'm gonna ride this wave because I feel like this is like easy mode,
right?
You know,
right?
But it's like no, they're like there's cats like Javi Naladeus and you know we got our boy Caden and all these other cats that we know personally that haven't blown up yet, but they'll cook you, man.
Yeah,
like in a second. You can't just come in, you know, and the same thing with hip hop. You can't just come in here like, you know, and you can't Miley Cyrus your way into, you know, this culture and like
you can't Leah Thomas in there. You can't just trans your way in, dude, from 300 to 1.
You can't
300 to 1.
Like I like the Miley Cyrus thing because it's like, you know, you're capitalizing on one, you're capitalizing on hip hop culture and you're capitalizing on black culture, and then the second it no longer suited you, you just ditched it completely, and then you want to cleanse your whole image of that era in your life when you were trying to really like cash grab off of the culture, you know. So I feel the same way with you know with my faith, and I feel the same way with the music, you know. So like when people do that, it's, and like you said, man, like you can discern like who's being real and who's being like
quick,
thirsty real fast. Like I think that just comes with age, man. You just learn to discern, you know, who's really about it and who's just out here like trying to get some more extra views or like expand their audience or whatever.
Well, and as a fan and as a Christian, I try to take an approach of like I can spot it, but I'm praying it's just a sanctification issue, right? Like 28-year-old Swiss is a lot different than 39-year-old Swiss, right? Like the things I was convicted about in my 20s, or wasn't convicted about in my 20s, I'm way more convicted about now, coming up on 40 years old. And like that's just the process of sanctification that God is
lifelong,
life. Lifelong. And just learning. And so I pray for some of these cats and just try to give them the benefit of the doubt as like, hey, maybe they're in the space and God's going to use them, right? Like I actually literally just had a conversation with one of my production guys at work today. We were talking a little bit about like, hey, what would you do if, you know, we dropped like a sound guy called in sick and we had to hire someone and this dude comes in wearing a pride flag on his shirt. Like, what would you do? And it was like, I'd let him run it. I'm paying him to listen to the gospel all day. And then he was like, we actually had somebody who had to do a credit for an intern, and she was a lesbian, and her friends were like, don't go to that church. They're going to kill you. Like they're going to hate you, blah, blah. And she came in, we loved on her, and she could only work Monday nights. And Monday nights is when we do our recovery program, like our ministry recovery program. So it's like, you can come in for pride. You can come in for lust. You can come in for drugs, porn, whatever. And that was the only night she could work. So she's sitting there watching all these people go through these life transformations. Well, she ends up going through regen, accepts Christ, and now like serves full time on our staff and like has left that life. And so it's just like, I pray that for some of these guys that we see. And I think your album, like, that's not the only song where that theme is hit on. Or at least not the only verse that theme is set on. And so I think you guys really called that out in like a strong, but like not too hard way either. Like, you're not calling anyone's name out, but you are letting them know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're trying not to.
Yeah.
Like peace around here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to fight nobody. You know, and the thing is, it's like, I kind of contradict myself at that point, because now I'm like calling attention to myself by. I never liked that move, by the way, when people are like, yo, blah blah blah, you're trash, and then the verse starts. It's like, you're doing an attention grab. You know, I'd be accused. I'd be I'd be doing what I'm accusing them of.
You'd be a hypocrite. Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I didn't feel like that. I think, you know, Paul calls out a bunch of people in several letters, so I don't think he's being a hypocrite. As long, look, it says, you shall not, like, get the log out of your eye,
right,
so that you can point the speck out. That's not saying don't judge. It's saying don't judge based on the things that you are also doing. So
exactly.
I think that's a important distinction of that verse. The next song on this too, I thought was a good kind of throwback song, the Berg slang. Now, what do you mean by Berg?
Berg, you know, I love hamburgers. No.
I was like, surely he's not talking about hamburgers.
Hamburgers, you know, give me some more fried. No, I'm playing. Imagine I try to make a metaphor out of that, and it's terrible. No, so of course, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and that's why it was perfect to have my cousin on. Because who, shout out to my cousin Jay Solo, who's a feel good as well. Man, he was one of my first inspirations as a kid, because there was really no rappers coming out of Harrisburg that were repping it in the 90s. And he was like young with my brother. They were trying to make tapes together, and like, we're going to try this rap thing out, you know. And then we grew up in an old school church, so it was very legalistic. And, you know, you already know, like, you can't, rap is bad, rock is bad, blah, blah, blah. But we were still listening because my dad was a DJ. Yeah. So, you know,
That was mine.
Right. Yeah. And open up the suitcase, and you might find tapes you're not supposed to listen to, you know. So it was like, you know, whoa, what's with Notorious B.I.G.? What is that? Big? You know, and you know, Tupac, All Eyes on Me. What's this? Yeah. Oh, okay. And you know, and I was listening to Christian, or they called it gospel rap back in the day.
Yeah.
And getting my influences that way. But my cousins, man, they were actually trying to rap, like, and I was like, man. So as a kid, just seeing them come up, my cousin Solo, he took some time away from rap. You know, he wanted to do other things. And then, you know, he was like, man, he was coming back. I was encouraging him to come back. I was like, man, you should do this. Like, there is no age limit on this thing. Your brain doesn't age, or body ages. A brain can keep spinning, you know, as long as you can still be rapid, spit it on flow where you're not disoriented. Let's go. And I sent him the song, and it was all working to that place, you know, where I was like, hey, man, I really want to. We've never officially collab, me and my own cousin. It was like the craziest thought. And he's a fan of Soy. Obviously, Soy's my brother. I'm a fan of him, and my cousin's a huge fan of Soy. And so I was like, bro, like, let's do this. So he hops on, and he asks me, man, what do you want me to do? I said, bro, talk about, because he never was a story type MC. You know, he was more like expository in different ways, but he was never like, let me talk about what I've been through. So this has actually been very therapeutic for him to just talk about stuff like, yo, let me talk about where I came from. I never really did that. And he's talking.
Well, it's funny you said that, because you said just earlier, you're never too old. So he has that line in there where he says, now that I'm 40, hindsight's 2020. And I'm like, that's dope. Like that. I'm like, that's cool, because I'm about to turn 40, and I'm like, it's not too late.
He fought with that verse. I never forget. Like, my cousin was like repeating it. Like, I think he knocked that thing out when he finally recorded it. It was like a one taker, like, because he really wanted to impress my bro, because he's a fan. I'm telling you, like, sorry, I love you, cuz I know he's gonna see this, but he really wanted to impress Soy. He always told me, yo, is this good? Is this good? And I was like, bro, you're amazing. And he came in, did his thing clean. I think he might have sent me a few versions just to make sure it was exact, because, you know, he had been out for a minute, you know, and I think a decade almost. And then obviously
You couldn't tell, man.
oh
When I
man,
heard the verse, I was like, he's been retired for how long?
10 years,
Because it
man.
didn't sound like that
Yeah,
on the
10
verse,
years.
bro.
And
Wow.
he was so like, I remember he would message me like, I'm getting it. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. I got you. Sending me drafts. And I love my cousin for that. He was keeping me involved in the
Yeah.
process just to make sure I knew what he was doing. And, you know, of course, the final amazing piece was DJ Short Shot. Shout out to Short Shot.
Yeah, that's my brother, man.
Woo.
Yeah, wait.
Where's
So
that?
remind me where, like, I saw the name and I'm like, DJ Sure Shot. Is
Yeah.
that Executioners or am I misplacing him?
So DJ Short Shot, he's a DJ here in Orlando, but he
Okay.
did like DMC stuff back in the day, like out of Jacksonville and stuff. But yeah, man, he's just like a super dope like OG DJ, like, you know, literally turntablism.
I love that
You know,
stuff, man.
this guy could cut, scratch, juggle, whatever you need, man.
Some
Like
dying art.
Yeah, very, and he's
is.
like, man, and he's incredible at it. Like he's probably gonna like cringe when he sees me like talking about him because he hates, he hates being big up. Like, even though he's like
he's a legend, man.
He's super talented. He's like, oh, don't say that. You know, like
he's real humble, man.
Yeah, he's super humble, but he's nasty, man. And I've known him. It's funny because I think when I came into the scene in Orlando, like 2007, and I had met him through another homie of ours, Rubox.
Oh yeah,
introduced us
another legend
at a Push Play Cafe. I put out my first beat tape, and he offered to DJ the night for free.
Wow,
I didn't even really know me, like just met me, and was like, I was like, oh, you need a DJ? He's like, I'm down. You know, just two Filipinos that love hip hop just connecting, and we just been brothers ever since.
It's like
man.
That big brother figure.
Yeah,
like,
he's pretty much like big bro.
Yeah,
I feel like I've heard him a lot before, because when I saw the name, I was like, I know this guy. Maybe I've watched some of his. I think like back in like the like 2010 era, I think I was looking at getting some turntables, and I ended up buying some turntables, and I think I saw some of his stuff. Because I mean, the name, did he do like a school or something? Like, did he do some? Man, I don't know. I gotta like go through the Rolodex.
So they used to have an event here in Orlando called Sunday School Scratch Session, and he was part of those, he was part of those. Like, it would be at Rain. Remember Rain?
Yeah, that's a deep cut.
Shout out to my my homie James, who owned this this fashion store, and it was like where they sold like acrylic, Accomplice, Play Clothes, like all of like the, you know, streetwear stuff. Streetwear brands, and they would have these things on Sundays called a Sunday School Scratch Session, and it would just be like, you know, DJs would come out, they throw a beat on, and then it would just be like cutting up, and they would like record them and throw them up on YouTube back in the day. So yeah.
Well, this song, I felt, you know, we were talking earlier before I didn't hit record about Dilla. I felt like this song had like that Dilla time beat code to it.
Yeah.
And then your next song, Brimstare, was just straight up like felt like a Donuts or the Shining style beat. It just had that wobbly like, I love that sound. Have you read that book, Dilla Time? Bro, yeah, I got it right here next to my. That book is so good, dude. That book is
what's funny is that I didn't realize that I had been implementing Dilla Time into my beats.
Dude, he changed.
And then I read the book, and then I was like, "Oh, I was doing this.
Already doing it. Yeah.
I was doing this." Like,
and it comes like innately with it. Like, I think we kind of all like Dilla like fathered so many producers, right?
Yeah.
So I always make it a thing, and I know Soy is big on this. We have to pay homage to Dilla because
100%,
I owe that. Like, Dilla was influencing me indirectly before I felt like I found who he was in 06. I was like, bro, I'll tell you this: where I was headed as a producer, where I wanted to go up here, he was already there, right? Yeah. So I'm sitting here trying to find that sound myself. Like, oh man, I want my drums to sound more like this, and I want the basses to be a little sluggish when I play them. And I was trying to find this sound, and then somebody played me Dilla, and I realized, like, oh, that's what I wanted to do. Somebody's doing it already, but better. And so I had to accept that, take my hat off, and go, yeah, he's the king of that. Like, his pocket. I mean, when you can influence musicians, the story
that Questlove tells at the beginning of the book is wild, bro.
It is, yeah. and he does Questlove he actually did an interview a couple years ago on like some Red Bull thing, and he talked through that, and he actually played it like on his MPC.
Yeah,
in
the
there.
Red Bull
And
Music Academy.
yeah, that was a dope interview. But man, I mean, Dilla's he's the
Oh, yeah.
greatest of all time. Like,
Yeah, he's
Yep.
like
Yep.
me and him. That's like we really bonded over
Dilla,
how
yeah.
much we admired Dilla and like just the innovation that man, you know, left behind. You know, like his legacy is forever cemented. You know,
Still inspired. I could still
Yeah.
listen to any of his beats and just, I gotta go make a beat.
bro.
Yep.
There's beats that like we didn't even know existed, but
Yeah.
like recently can't like when
they're
House
still
Shoes-
dropping them.
Yeah, when like
Yeah.
House Shoes put up that beat of the Nina Simone flip, and it was like
wow.
it was something that he flipped on the spot at the beginning of a Slum Village show. And the only version of that beat that exists that to the public is from that video from that
Wow.
show.
Yeah.
And then like a bunch of people on YouTube like took that video and like looped it to kind of make the beat loop, because the beat is just the fact that he made that on the spot, bro. And it's like, how do you?
I
I
gotta
gotta
see
check that.
You
Yeah,
gotta-
you gotta
it's
send
crazy.
that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Please, you
Dude,
gotta
it's
send that.
wild. It's wild.
I don't think I-
Well, and what's cool is like this song in my notes I wrote felt like it was a mix of like a Dilla sound, and then Deus, you went kind of like Black Thought 75 bars on this song. Like you just went at it, and just when I think you're gonna like go into a chorus or something, you're like, nah, I'm gonna flip another rhyme scheme.
Nope.
And like I love that. I thought that was sick. And another thing that I thought, this was just, I didn't write this down, but it made me think of Monster Tarver, because he's always like this.
Yeah.
In his song Brimstare, and I'm like, I just
Oh,
want to see
yeah.
that cat's eyes.
I was trying to make a you know, like a hat reference. I was like, man, what do I call this? But I wanted it to come off as a serious, you know, like I was thinking of the guy with the Yankees fitted in New York, you know, in a cold day, and I was like,
the Jay-Z,
yes, the
Yeah,
Jay-Z era,
all the way down.
you know what I mean?
the Black album cover. Yeah.
Honestly, and with Brimstare, that, you know, I have to tell this because C4 is going to be like, you didn't say anything. That was birthed off of a conversation with C4, because we're joking. This is how our conversations can go, me and C4, because he's such a dope like spitter, and he just comes up with stuff like on the spot too. And he's a fast worker too when it comes to writing. We're talking on the phone, and I'm saying he likes, sometimes I'll say words he doesn't know, and vice versa. Like he'll like, yo, what's that word? What is that? I'm gonna use that in the rhyme. Because he's so dope.
Nerds.
Yo, he's like, I never heard that word.
Nerds.
So I said with the Brimstare, I remember I was going something. Yeah, and the guy's paraplegic. And we're just having a conversation. And then C4 goes, paraplegic. And then he says, oh, I'm interested in possibly using that in a rhyme scheme. And then I just said the first lines. I was like, sprayed up the block. Now he's paraplegic. Never gave him the gospel, but they shared him with Jesus. And he was like, oh, that's hard. You should write that down. And that started that whole train of thought.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, this one had a lot of like good bars on it. Like the devil can't flex on his own. Got to check with the throne. Like the Braille face line was like, are you talking about someone with a lot of zits on their face? Like kind of like low key.
I was
like
thinking about beaded sweat.
Oh, okay. I thought you were low key trying to throw shade at someone who like had acne.
Ooh, man. Acne shaming. No.
Yeah. And the claiming y'all woke, but it's a joke. Y'all not conscious.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I put insert how high get 'em meme. Very flawed and need of God. At least I'm on. Like this is just this one had just so many good lines in it. I was like, ooh.
It was like a
just
church
felt
service
like
in the booth. I was just trying to get it all off of me, man.
He just had to let y'all know. I was like, I know you said I was too soulful. I bet I got you.
I had a picture of
No,
Swiss's face on the phone, and I'm just rapping like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you thought I got soft?
You think I was gonna come hard? Hey, you can use that if it's inspiration.
Oh no. You know, it's funny. Working on this because remember, these records were being made before I was there.
That's right.
Technically.
Yeah.
So this was just organic. It was just me and Soy being us.
Yeah.
Always what we were, like straight boom bap. We love the lyrical rap. You know, Soy's an amazing MC. You know, he's always rapped too. You know what I mean? He's humble, but he's amazing. He's amazing. And he's amazing. No, he's amazing. So, and you get a taste of that. You already know. So, you know, it just comes. And I think that's just our friendship is like that too. It's like, he's sending me amazing beats. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I have to, you know, and that's just only going to inspire me. That's
Yeah.
so everything really was birthed in a place of he made it easy for me to just here's the canvas. Go ahead, man. Like, do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the next song has been a while. It's got Javi on it too.
Yeah.
And I thought, Javi, come back because I got to ask you a question on this one, man.
Take the seat.
Like, I feel like
I'll come back.
He said, I'll come back. Watch out for the buttons.
I just now noticed that MF Doom Doomsday album in the back. I gotta show you.
Oh, you got? Oh, you saw his? Oh, he got a collection too.
Oh, you got that too?
I got this. I got this KMD second before he was MF Doom.
Oh my god!
Record. I
That
just
was Zev. Is it Zev Love? Yeah, when he was. Yeah.
I just
Wait,
got
wait,
this
wait.
in like 2 days ago.
But do you have? This
Oh no, I do not.
It's a vinyl show off. It's a vinyl show off.
Oh, I'm sure you're. I just started collecting.
Oh
like
man,
a year ago.
Soy's vinyl collection is beautiful.
I'm
And
gonna
he's
fly out to
like,
Orlando.
he's got a lot, but he's building it too.
Yeah. Well, man, this song. I felt Javi outside of that single you dropped last year, which for some reason the name's.
Oh, Heaven's
it is.
Reminder. I think.
Yeah, I love that song. By the way,
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I felt like you were really transparent on this record. Like I felt like
Yeah.
you were sharing your soul, man. Like talk me through how did you get in that headspace? What were you going through to write that?
Yeah, man. So actually, me and Darius were talking about that on the drive-in. I forgot you said someone had mentioned that was super like vulnerable. Oh, it was
Swiss.
Swiss.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
good.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, I've been. So like the last 5 years have been really like, it's just been like a desert season. I'm like, hey, like, it started with my mom passing, then my dad passing, and like a year apart, and then just navigating some craziness and stuff like that. And then, Chris, our friend Crescendo, who just recently passed away. So I'm kind of going through all of this like headspace. And so I have, and I think this is why me and like Deus connect so well too, is like I have moments where I want to be like super lyrical, double entendres, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff. But that record, when he told me what the concept was, and I heard the sample hook, where it's like, yo, it's been a while, and hearing his verse kind of got me into headspace of like, man, like I can give people bars or I can give people my heart. And I was like, and at that moment, it just felt right to kind of get vulnerable with like, I talk about a lot of stuff there, but like, like the suicidal like ideation and stuff like that. And even like kind of like wrestling with myself and saying like, Lord, have my heart, take my life, like, what I'm saying, like all this stuff. And I'm like, it just kind of felt, and at that time I remember too, I was going through the book of Psalms, you know what I'm saying, and something that someone told me stuck out to me, which is like Pastor Eric is a dude I do Bible studies with and stuff like that. He said like, the real you doesn't scare God. And like I thought that was super powerful, and it kind of was an invitation for me to just be raw. And I just put it on wax. But I was just telling Deus on the drive, I was telling Deus, it's like it's weird because I'm like, yo, like now it's like kind of on wax and it's gonna live out and people are gonna listen to it. But something that's been really inspiring to me, even with my last project, which was completely mixed and mastered by Nala Deus, I did an album called Human. And I've been doing this thing where it's like, yo, like just feeding off that theme of like, or just building off that theme, which is like the real you doesn't scare God. And I think that's where I was able to dig deep. But I mean, Deus really set the precedence on that record. When I heard him talk, I'm like, okay, cool. So we're gonna go there. And I just kind of took it and just like ran with it.
You were in the car, and I remember that it was like at night. And I played him the record, and I said, I want you on that set. I need you on the second verse.
Well, you dropped Human. I missed that drop completely. Ooh, bro, Lord forgive me.
You gotta hear that.
I'm downloading it right now, and then I'm gonna go buy it.
Go.
Appreciate that.
Amazing body of work.
Sweet. I'm gonna listen to that after I get off this, like straight up. Because I was literally about to be like, when is Javi gonna drop an album? Because all the singles I've heard you do were awesome.
And he's cooking, like Javi's been cooking. So he's got some stuff coming too. Obviously we stay working, all of us stay working. So it's Javi got some heat coming, man.
Appreciate
he
that,
got
man.
some heat coming, bro.
Dude,
but Human is if you love the transparency,
Yes.
If you love the
Yeah.
realness of what he did, and that was just a taste of it, in my opinion. You know, he did that was one I love that verse. One of my favorite verses of his
Yeah,
on
me
our
too.
record. But Human is so dope, and you'll see what I mean when you listen. I'll give you time to listen to it, but it's so heartfelt. It's just
Bro,
like
I'm
get you in
gonna
the
send you
feels.
the notes. I'm gonna send you the notes, Javi.
See?
Yo, yeah, man, appreciate it. I mean,
He gives good notes. Yeah,
and no, yeah, and we can lock probably something in to talk about because I
Yeah,
haven't
heck
done.
yeah.
I love because I remember the first time when you did, I was there. I was talking to Nowadays, and I mean, he showed me like some of the linear notes that you made. I was like,
Oh,
man, this is
yeah.
like in depth.
One of the
So,
best in depth. Like, bro,
yeah, I
you
was
were
gonna say,
amazing with that.
and that's
by
what
the
he
way.
says. Like, yo, this is one of the best interviews. So, I mean, Swiss, I'll be more than happy to give you
Yeah,
that
man.
level of interview because I haven't done it with anyone. So,
Anyone.
Let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
do it, man. We'll
So,
schedule it up. I'll
this will
hit
be
you
an
up. How come it's
exclusive,
not on iTunes store? I can't buy this album. Where can I buy it?
oh, so yeah, so we talked about this.
And
Yeah,
can't?
the
That's
artist
right.
name. So if you go, I used to go by Anonymous XI. So if you type
Oh,
in
okay.
Anonymous XI Human, you'll find it. And that's been like a whole thing with distribution.
Yeah, it's mixed up.
Yeah, but yeah, you should find it there. If anything, I could also send you the link on IG. I could DM it to you. But yeah, man.
Cool.
Yeah, listen to it, man. You know, sit with
Heck
it, and I would love to
yes.
hear your thoughts on it.
Absolutely, man. Like I remember when you dropped Heaven's Reminder, I'm like, wow, this is like I want this type of sound on an album with him.
Yeah.
And you did it, and I didn't even know,
Yeah.
which is the problem with algorithms, man. Like I'm
It
following
is.
so many
Yeah.
artists. Like most of the stuff I either get through Twitter or through Spotify Release Radar, and
I feel you, man.
I miss so many things all the time. And I'm like, no.
Hey, man, you got it now, so that's gonna
Yeah,
be crazy.
yep.
Yep.
Oh
Look
man, I
forward
can't
to
wait. I'm like getting all excited. It feels like Christmas right now.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
man.
But yeah. So wait, I gotta know, was that a flute sample on that song? Because I'm like, is that a flute?
Oh, hold on. For which one? For
Been a while.
Been a while.
No, so
No, go ahead. You good? You good.
Switcheroo.
Magic.
So it actually came from a Chick Corea record. Rest in peace, Chick Corea.
Oh yeah. Jazz legend.
Yeah, but like if I played you the original song, it's
head would
completely it's completely not that pocket, and it's not that tempo or any like. I slowed it down crazy because like I honestly I couldn't tell you if it was a flute. I'd have to check like the back of the record to see like who played what.
It had like almost like maybe a oboe-ish vibe or clarinet.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But man, it sounded crazy when you slowed it down and when you pitch it down. And I was just like, yo, it's like wow, flavorful.
It's
So
a
like,
genius.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it almost felt like a Havoc moment.
Yeah. Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
yeah,
just
yeah.
taking
Ooh,
that
that's a deep
small
cut.
little loop and then you just pitch it all the way down, and it just completely like creates a whole different vibe, a whole different flavor to the whole song. So
Wow.
Let me tell you something about him real quick, man, with sampling. This man, I've seen him flip samples that don't make sense to me, right? Like, listen, that's why I'm saying like he's a different person when it comes to producing. Like nobody's seeing Soy. I'm telling you right now, and I'm saying this for the record. I've seen him flip samples that you shouldn't flip. You're like, bro, don't mess with that sample. He's like, no, watch this though, and he'll just. I mean, this guy has flipped Baby Shark. This guy's flipped. Oh, what? I'm serious. Oh, my favorite flip though, for real, is off one of his projects with the Sonic sample.
Oh, Know the Head.
Yo, oh my goodness, bro.
I have an old soul.
He has beat tapes out, by the way.
Yeah.
Definitely got to get preview his beat tapes.
I want to get down.
He
definitely
flipped
get on
Sonic, the Sonic theme. Wow.
like Sonic the
Wow.
Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Dope.
game theme.
So
Oh,
I have like with all my beat tapes combined, I have like over like
I remember when you played
200
it.
beats.
Remember you played it
Yeah.
live at the Studios?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Everybody lost their mind.
He did an album listening, bro. Let me tell you something. And he's playing it, and then he drops the flip, and I wanted to like punch somebody and then ask for forgiveness. You ever hear like a beat? You're like, oh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's funny because that was a beat that almost didn't make that tape because I was just like, I don't know, this seems like too left field. I feel like,
man.
and then it ended up being like everybody's favorite.
We
Like,
went
yo, how did
nuts.
you flip this?
Yeah, and there
Sonic
was
sample?
a room in full of b-boys because
Yeah.
they were breaking
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
They went nuts on that beat. I
Yeah.
remember he plays it, and I mean all his beat tapes are amazing. By the way,
Wow.
you get, if you're not
Thank
privy,
you.
get privy with Sawyer's Real's
Oh, I
beat
will.
tapes. If you love anyway, I can keep going about that, but you already know like. But that just a good example with this record as well of how Soy thinks about things and like differently, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
in an unconventional way. And I think that's what makes him unique in his style.
Mm.
I'm always looking for chord progression hits. This man will find a piece of something that I can't hear, and that's why I love like working with him. He'll hear something I don't hear, and I think that's the beauty of collaborative like projects.
Mhm.
He's gonna hear something I don't every single time.
Yeah. Which
And,
I thought
you know,
you brought up chord progression. The next song definitely has that. I felt
Yeah.
like every eighth bar, you kind of switch that sample up a little bit to kind of illuminate kind of the way that the song was going. And so you definitely have like an ear for like when to change it. Even on one of the notes I wrote, which don't look out the window, man. That was a heavy song. But you did like a key change when C4 came in that was a little bit
It's like a
darker,
bend.
kind of like a horror, like a shepherd's
Yeah.
tone. I actually DM'd him yesterday to be like, "Hey, bro, that's probably one of your best verses, and thank you for writing that because I know that was probably tough."
I was shocked when I heard the song because I didn't know that's the direction that the beat took him.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, you know, it was just gonna be on some grimy braggadocio, but they went deep on the storytelling. I was like, man, I'm glad that y'all went that direction because I feel like that's gonna probably be the heaviest song on the album.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Like
for
it's
sure
gonna
the
hit a
heaviest
lot of
song.
people, and I feel like a lot of people
Yeah.
are not gonna want to, but they're going to relate to that because
Oh,
we all
hands down.
know-
I almost started crying in the airplane, man. Like
I cried when I heard the song.
I got emotional, man. I
with
was like,
C4's
damn, this is
verse, I
heavy.
was
Oh
like,
man. You
Oh.
know what it was too. So
Oh.
I could tell you, he sends me the beat
yeah,
and it's hard. It's an amazing record. But for me, I always listen to like the progressions and the notes and the tone.
yeah,
So even though it's a super hard record,
Mhm.
I'm hearing the feeling of it.
yeah,
And then I dozed off listening to it in my studio. And I never forget, and all real too. It felt so visceral. I fell asleep in my studio chair while the beat was playing, and I saw a window in a dark room opened up doing this. And then I felt smaller and like a kid, and I went up to the window and I saw everything I wrote down. Then I confirmed it with my mom and said, "Mom, did this happen?" Because you know, I've recalled my uncle who I was named after his death several times in different songs, and so he's been a part of that. But it was a different angle. And then I took a piece of my mom's conversation, which, you know, I hope she doesn't mind me sharing it, but you know, I put it in there because it was I never said that. No one has ever said that before, that my mom was with my uncle when he was dying in front of our projects, you know. So, you know, when he got shot. So it all came like a weird memory that I didn't know was stored in my mind, but it happened when I was dozing off, listening to the beat. So I was like, I think this is where I should go because it was so I felt like I was back in that house or the project building. And then when I sent it to C4, he hadn't heard the beat or anything.
yeah.
And C4, man, that's my bro. He's down for whatever. He's like, send me whatever you got. As long as it's dope, I'm with you, man. He sent it to me. He goes, bro, give me a week, please.
Yeah.
This was the first thing he told me was just give me a week because what you gave me is not something I can just bar up with. That I don't know why he did that, but he was like, give me a week and let me sit on this for. I gotta think, bro. When he sent me that verse back, I remember he gave me a before you listen, and he says, listen, bro, I poured my heart on this thing. And I dug into some places that I didn't necessarily want to. Here you go. And I remember it affected him a little bit, you know, when he wrote that. And so we talked about it, you know, speaking about just something so personal, like which is he was talking about his stepfather and things like that. And just going through that memory because he's addressed other heaviness, you know, as you know, in his music, but I've never heard it that angle and him talk about that specific story because he kind of addresses it in another project as well. And I remember someone tell me, you know, I got the not for nothing. They were like, I got the most deep, heartfelt, hard hitting verse from C4. And I said, nah, in my mind, I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I got the one,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
you
no one's
did.
gonna hear it yet. It's not coming out yet.
Yeah.
So that's one of those songs that I know once people hear. I mean, I fully and I think I told Soy this. I fully expect my family to go, "Why'd you say all that?"
That whole
You
record
know?
is just like a therapy session,
Yeah.
man.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
You feel
It's
like
really
a
like
therapist
it.
listening to that record because you're like,
Mhm.
oh, these people are just really pouring out their trauma, and it's not something
Yeah.
to really take lightly. So that's why I did cry when I heard that record for the first time, because as somebody that's going through like PTSD therapy myself, like stuff like that, it's real, man. Like, and
Yeah.
you could feel the emotion behind it,
Oh, yeah.
like especially with C4's verse and like.
Oh yeah.
And with Naladeus, like, Naladeus' uncle, like I've heard that story many times on other records and even in just, personal conversations. Like,
Yeah.
not to like minimize it, but that
No,
was like
no.
one of Naladeus' like canon events. If you've seen like
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man,
Yeah,
that's a canon
Yeah,
event.
it's a
But
canon
like
event.
I've never heard
Yeah.
it from that angle that you
That's actually a good way to put it.
that
Actually,
you
yeah.
that you did it on that record.
Yeah.
Don't Look Out the Window, because that was
Yeah, my uncle Eddie's,
Yeah.
and rest in peace to my uncle Eddie. He who I was named after again because he didn't have any sons, but I always rep him heavy, not just because of my name, but he obviously took a liking to me while he was here, and I think he passed when I was 4. So for me to retain all that information, and really it was all like that. That song is a healing for me because I closed the book on that in my heart a long time ago because I mourned him late. I was 4.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a grasp of death, and even the funeral was traumatic. So to be able to mourn him later in life and like let it go almost, it was something freeing about that. And so it, like you said, that's actually a great way to put it because I felt like that changed a lot of trajectory for me. Having dreams where he would speak to me, just things, I feel like things really, like you said, like it's kind of a dope idea of it, like a Spider-Man origin thing. It's crazy, but it's kind of the similar, like to be real candid with you, this is a real personal thing, but my wife can attest to this. I cried watching the 3rd Spider-Man because of that storyline arc.
Yeah.
In the theater because I could.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. It's mad old, but yeah, spoiler alert. Venom wasn't that good in that movie, but I had a moment. I cried and like a baby, man, and I didn't know why. It was just coming up, and I realized, I didn't mourn my uncle. I never mourned him. So just having that, real moment. So I feel like Don't Look Out the Window is a song of I wish I didn't. I wish I wouldn't have experienced it. But I'm thankful that I had that moment to have with him in his lifetime and to carry the name. And hopefully I can make his name mean something more than just how he went out. That was my perspective from it.
Well, not only that, I think by you sharing it is going to help somebody else, right? Like,
right.
Sure.
I got a buddy. His name's Lawrence. He's Dutch. He's actually, I'm 6'7". He's 6'8". He's my only taller friend. He just got back from Ethiopia.
Wow.
And he did a mission trip out there, and he was telling me a story about how he was sharing the gospel with this Ethiopian girl who just felt lonely and just all this stuff. And she was trying not to, like, her friend was trying to drag her away from the conversation, and she kept looking back at this big, tall white guy. And she's like, I want to hear him talk. And he just shared his story with her. And then of like, he grew up as a missionary kid in South America. And so he was always picked on for being the white kid. And so he had no friends, and he was alone because he was the only Christian white kid. And this girl was like the only Ethiopian Christian in the village. And so he told me that he went back to his room and cried because he remembered someone telling him when he was a kid, one day you'll use this story to help someone. And he 35 years later, he's having a conversation with this girl in Ethiopia. So this song could be that for you, like you processing your trauma, you processing like this thing that happened in your childhood. And then not only that, I think too, the way that you guys connect it with your faith and forgiving and like moving on, like that's a testament to God's grace and just how we can impact others going forward. So I think you guys, I mean, that's a track I'm probably not going to listen to a lot because I'm like,
we don't expect people to run that back, but at least that first listen through, it definitely, the first listen is always going to be like the impactful listen, So
exactly.
but it's dope. It's dope how it came about.
Yeah, it's heavy. So everyone get ready to cry. Bring a tissue when you
Yeah,
get to track
bring
8.
some Kleenex with you.
Yeah. You also got YP on this album, which I mean, I
Yeah.
love YP. I told C4 when I was talking to him yesterday, I was like, man, this album made me realize that I need like a Wu-Tang Clan style album with C4, Naladeus, YP, Javi, get Riggs on there, maybe Selah, and like y'all do like a Wu-Tang collab album because y'all complement each other so well. The people that you picked for this project to come in all complement the sound. Y'all complement each other. No one's trying to like one up enough. Like no one's like trying to outshine the other rapper. You guys just complement each other well.
And YP wrote his verse on a plane.
Oh yeah,
dang.
Really?
He heard my verse. So if I can give a little insight on that record specifically, because my brother was originally supposed to be on it, and I hope you hear this, bro. And
How long we were waiting?
I hope you hear this. How long were we waiting? Yo, and he has to answer the story for this. But so essentially that beat was picked, and I told YP the story. The beat was picked for my brother because my I was like, bro, what kind of beat do you want? And you know what my brother told me? And so my verse was kind of not inspired. It was for fun. It was fun. I was taking a little jab at my bro in the verse because he said, I don't want you to be on no storytelling stuff either, bro. Don't do none of that. You know, I'm thinking back when I was young. Don't do none of that. I don't want no storytelling because my brother loves bars and stuff, you know? So I said, all right, bro. He's like, I want it to be like a cipher. I said, oh, cool. Every time I think about the 90s with me and my brother and sister, I always think starter jackets.
Yeah.
Starter jacket cipher it is, right? I go to Soy. I'm like, man, this is the type of beat my brother's looking for. Soy had put it out a beat tape. That beat was on it. It was like Astro. What was it called?
Space Boy.
Space Boy. I'm sorry. I was thinking about Astro because we just watched that earlier with my kids. But yeah, Space Boy. And he plays the beat. And I send the link to my brother and I said, is this something you're feeling? And my brother goes, yeah, because he was like, I want something like Mob Deep, gritty, you know. That's my brother all day. So I said, all right, cool. Pick the beat out.
Yeah.
You know, write my verse that
we
day.
Make it easy for you.
Right. I laid it out on you on the platter, bro. And then I wrote my verse like 30 minutes. Like I was in the mode. I was like, all right, I gotta get my brother. I was excited because I'm the little brother. So I'm all like, he was the first rapper. You know, I was like, yeah. Man, he finished his verse, and it was actually a solid verse too, man. That's what got me. I was like, come on, man. He just didn't have time. He works a lot, whatever. But
yeah.
So it worked out in the sense that YP had always wanted to collab with me, and I always admired YP. Like I always thought he was dope, and I didn't know he wanted to have do something with me before. I didn't know that. So we ended up through C4. Shout out to C4. C4 was like, yo, YP wants to work with you, bro. I was like, I didn't know that. I would like to work with YP. You know, he does his connecting. We become cool. Been chopping up with him ever since, and he delivered that 24 bar verse.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be 16, but he went right through the hook.
Yeah, he's got a bar in there where he says, Satan takes advantage of these kids like a pedophile. Like, bro, I was like, damn, he's coming out hard.
You know so funny? The line that sticks out to C4 the most is the most gritty line to him, which was, I seen a shootout at the gas station. You dude was on his back fading, you know? That's his favorite line.
Really?
Like, you know, it's so funny. He was like, you know what line really got to me? I was like, yeah. You know?
That song's fire. And then
Soy, real aggressive.
Soy, you got on the next track. So I was like,
go,
because in the master you sent me didn't have the featuring, so I was like, oh, this must be Soy.
Okay, yeah, I just sent him like, okay, yeah.
And so I was like, is this Soy? And y'all just went straight braggadocio.
Yeah.
Talk about how you got in. Like, why did you pick that song to come in on? How did y'all do that in studio together? Like, what?
So that was something that I had flipped, and
Amazing.
I showed Naladeus the beat that I made.
We heard it in here, right?
Yeah, I played it for him. He came to the studio one day, and I was just like, yo, you want to hear like this crazy like prog rock gospel joint that I found?
Yeah, that's what I wrote. I was like, is this a classic rock gospel sample? Like what? Like it sounds like Led Zeppelin doing gospel or something.
Yeah. I played him the original, and then I played him the flip, and he was like, bro, what? We have to get on this. So like I sent him the beat, and then we actually didn't end up writing it until I went over to his place, like maybe like a couple months later.
Yeah.
I went over to his spot, Javi was there. We ate tacos at his house, and
yeah.
like we just talked downstairs for like an hour, just messing
Chilling.
around, joking, roasting one another, and then we went up to the studio and started writing, and it was just like a lot of things that we talked about or joked about ended up in the bars. And
you know
that's
what was dope about that is that this man right here, like, so I made a vow to him too after he sent me the beat, right? Because I was like, the plan was always to have Soy on the record, because I told him we have to put you on rapping, you have to rap. Like, they cannot not know this, right? I can't not let this slide.
Don't keep it from us.
Right, exactly. And so I told Sawyer I refuse to write my part, which I usually write ahead. So I refuse to write my part unless you're in the room with me, because I felt like I want it to be whatever is in the room with me, like that natural process. And thank God, man, Javi was with us. We were fellowship and building. It was just natural. It was all natural.
If they weren't there, then I don't know if that verse would have came out the way it did, because
just killed it.
Like I said, because like me bouncing some of the bars that I was coming up with, and then like getting that feedback, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna continue on in this direction. Like, at least I know that the flow and like the theme that I'm going for is working. So, but yeah, like, I wrote the verse on the spot, and like obviously nowadays finish his verse first, but after I heard his verse, it just made me like, okay, I know what else like I need to write, like if I'm gonna match that energy, and then he was like, bro, I'm gonna make you the anchor on the song. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Had to be. Yeah.
I don't want to be the last one on the song. Like, put me first, bro.
You know what it is too, is like that. I love that song so much because it just kind of captures me and Soy.
Yeah.
Like as bros, not just as artists.
Yeah.
But like it reminded me of like our older sessions when we were younger. Like something about
referencing all of the things that we joke about all
the
time. So it's just like, like my verse starts out with a nod to the actual record that I sampled, which was Fresh at the Ceremony, hosted by Spooky Tooth. The record is called The Ceremony, and it's by a band called Spooky Tooth. And then it's these kiddos couldn't see the beat tricks piece to Lucy Liu. Beatrix Kiddo was Kill Bill, but these kiddos couldn't see the beat tricks, like the way I flip beats.
Dude, when you said that, I thought you said Skittles, and I had to like play it back a few times. I'm like, what is he saying right here?
See the beat tricks piece to Lucy Liu, since Lucy Liu got her head top cut off in the movie.
Shout out to Tarantino.
Yeah, and then so it's like me and Nala Days always are talking about. There's two things that are always going to come up when we're hanging out, and that's one is martial arts, and two is comedy.
Yes.
So that's why I have the Eddie Murphy line, like the still get the story wrong, Eddie Murphy Goonie Goo. I got the Kung Pao line later on in the song, where it's just like I Kung Pao these chickens, watch these lymph
nodes implode.
No, what is it? Oh, I forget the line with the Wimplo. I referenced Wimplo, and there's like Kung Pao these chickens, watch their lymph nodes implode.
That movie is super underrated.
It very much is.
I love
that went way under the
big part of my childhood, so I had to reference Kung Pao. But yeah, man, like and then even just like,
and we love film too, by the way, like not just martial arts, all that. We have all that, but like we're big Bruce Lee heads, not just Dilla heads, right? That's like a mixture, but we love movies, like we love film. So
my wife and I go to the movie theater almost every week. We're big cinephiles. Like, I think before 2020, in 2019, we went to the movie. We saw 52 movies in the theater that year. Like we are nuts about going. Like, that's our favorite thing.
You might
do.
got me on that one. I just know a lot about history, film history and stuff.
Oh man, I work in film, so like I'm just a big nerd. What's funny? I'm gonna tell you what I've been thinking about on my head, that since you guys have been talking the last like 10 minutes is here's what I'd say. I would love if there's a second Beanies and Snapbacks album that's gonna come. I will rent out like a cabin somewhere and let me film y'all cook for a week, and y'all just do the
I'll be
album.
down.
Crazy. That'd be
And, like,
crazy.
Get Javi out there. Let's
know
like
it's coming.
I'll
You
pay
know
for
it's
it. Let's
coming.
just go get a cabin. I'll even do it
Yeah,
out in
there it
Florida. I don't care. I'll
Beanies
fly
and
out.
Snapbacks 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Electric
Yeah.
Boogaloo, let's go. I like that.
And we'll do like a
Wait for it.
documentary of like the process that you guys do.
Yeah.
And man, like y'all sound like my people that I would just have fun with. Just like
Yeah,
just like being
you
a
have
fly
no
on the
idea with
wall.
the studio session, bro. It's just
such
nonstop
fun.
joking, all
laughing.
the time, bro.
We're laughing in between takes.
Yeah.
And we have such a good time. But it's all just and I'm thankful that I'm able to just make music with my friends. Like something that I was always my goal is like it's cool making music with dope people, but it just so happens that these dope people are like my closest friends.
Yep.
You can't make this stuff up.
I could tell just by how y'all are hanging out right now. It's just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
man, I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, man, these guys are like dope. Like, I want to hang out with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh man. No, we already know, bro.
you're
I
more
already
than welcome.
told you.
Anytime you come to Orlando, bro, just
Swiss,
hit us
you're-
up. We'll link.
I
You
need to
already
come
know,
out, man.
bro. You let
I
me
need to
know.
come
Yeah,
out.
look, we all yeah.
Last song you got Just For You. This is for
Yes.
Crescendo, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good way to end it. I think it was a good tribute. Obviously I don't know him, so but like, this is one of your guys. I thought also the way that you ended the sample to like let the kind of the originality of it kind of play out as like the last thing you heard. I thought that was just a cool way to end the album.
Yeah.
Why did you want to do the tribute at the end?
You know what? So the truth of it was, I remember like shortly after our friend had passed, maybe a few days after he passed out, I want to say, we were all just like hanging, right?
Yeah.
And so he's showing us some amazing beats he got cooking, right? And he plays that one beat, and it has that like soul sample, you know what I mean? Like you could rap some hard bars on it, kind of thing. But I remember he played it, and it spoke to me. I didn't know yet I was gonna talk about Chris or anything. I just knew, man, something about that is special, right?
Yeah.
Told him, so let me check. It might be, somebody's looking at it right now. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
He said, so we confirm it. I start writing to it. I say, well, let me start writing to it right away. I remember I was supposed to be getting ready to go somewhere. My wife was like waiting for me. I said, just give me a few minutes. And as soon as I sat down, the first thought that came to me was, I got to talk about Chris, man. I don't know why. I just got to talk about him. So I started writing how I met him, and just going through that motion. My wife had no idea. So I'm over here crying, typing in my phone, just trying to get this together. And the first thought that comes to me after I finished this whole verse was one of the messages he actually sent me on Telegram, which was him in the beginning. When this is crazy, because I think I said this to him when we talked about it, but I'm sharing it. That message was in around the time we started doing Beanies and Snapbacks. And he was responding to me because I was in a down moment because my hard drive had just went down. So that message literally had everything to do, and I didn't think of that. Had everything to do with the Beanies and Snapbacks.
Wow.
That same time frame. Because that message he was saying was, hey man, we're gonna have fun on your birthday, because my birthday, it was I want to say it was 2022, like top of the year. It's actually the top of the year that he ended up passing. And he was like, man, that's why he said what he said. And actually the 10 messages, those who know Chris and Crescendo, how he is, the first 10 messages were him saying happy birthday in different accents to me and different like cadences, you know what I mean? And so when he got to that was him just saying, hey bro, I know you're upset. And I cut some things out, but he just said some things, and I was like, wow, I got to start the song like that. And we actually debuted it ahead of time at the commission, just in honor of Chris. But I remember me and Soy, I don't even think we spoke about it. We just knew. That's how we're ending it.
We had to.
It was just we knew.
So like, just for anybody that doesn't know Crescendo, and the reason why the loss of Crescendo was so heavy for all of us, not just the crew, but like just for Orlando hip hop in general, man, is just like this. I met Chris back in 2005. We were in high school, and he was literally like the first artist, the first person that ever wanted to rock on any of my beats. Like, he was the first person to ever show me love. Like, at that time I was only a year into making beats, so they were a little rough and a little amateurish, but he was like, no, I love this. Like, this is like this is it. Like this is what it should be, you know. And he really championed me like from the day that I met him, and you know, he just became a brother, you know, from that point on. And you know, we worked on albums together. I had done records with him, and you know, a whole bunch of beats for him and stuff like that with his early work. And but like even beyond music, man, like we would, you know, when he had his kids, like I did their baby photos, you know, because I do photography as well. So like, you know, it was just a family thing, you know, like we just randomly sometimes were like, yo, you want to go grab ramen? Like, yeah, let's go. You know, and the reason that he's like really impactful to the culture and to the scene is because he was one of those dudes that would always speak your name in a room. If he was around important people, he always made sure to bring up like, oh, you got to check out Nowadays, you got to check out Soy, you got to check out, you know, like even like the Ozone cast like Shinobi and Midas, you got to check out these people that we know, you know. And he always championed our scene, and I called him the great connector, man. Like he just connected everybody. Like is the reason I know Nowadays, is the reason I know Javi. You know, he recruited me to Feel Good, and you know what I mean? Like he introduced me to a lot of people, and he introduced, you know, all of us to a lot of the people that we know and that we now love and consider family, man. So like even with the outside of the CHH scene, like, you know, in the secular world, like he made people really look at him and be like, oh man, you're like, you know, a lot of people are, you know, God this, God that, but they don't really live it. But everybody was like, oh no, he's really about it. Like he's like real, you know. So like when you walk in that way and you know, you preach a certain message and people see that you walk in that message as well, and you do that 24/7 and you're just loving all the time, you know, whether you have disagreements or you don't agree with somebody's ideologies or whatever, he still find a way to love you, you know what I mean, and to love on you. So he just led by that example, man. And you know, just in his personal life, in his friendships, and in his music relationships, he led that authenticity, and he always carried that love with him in any room, you know what I mean. So that's why, you know, when we talk about Crescendo, we get emotional about it, because none of this would have been, we wouldn't be in the same room if it wasn't for Crescendo.
He's your all's canon event.
Yeah, pretty much.
Y'all in the room.
Yeah,
Pop
man.
showed up to every show we did. Every single show. He was like, man, what I said in that verse was so true, man. He said he sent his wife to buy a CD from me, and I'm like, he was a real fan, and I was like, wow. And then from there, it was like, just a CD from me, like, dude, like in the parking lot, like, hey man, we want to buy a physical copy, and the physicals weren't even that well pressed up, you know. And he paid for it, you know, he wanted it for his birthday, like stuff like that. I'll never forget that. Like, you want my CD for your birthday, man? Like, I'm some local artist, you know what I mean? And he just made you feel like important, you know what I mean? Like always.
Well, it was a good tribute, man. I think this episode here, the process, is really like what y'all just talked about. Going like, this is kind of the first time I've actually done a song by song, like talk me through this, and this is what it's about. I really appreciate you guys sharing everything about this.
Thank you.
I hope people will go listen to this album and then come back to this episode and be like, oh, I want to know what that, like, more in depth on that song. They can come to this, because I feel like you guys really shared like the meat of what this album is. So when does it drop?
This Friday, the 23rd, June 23rd.
Exclusive on Bandcamp, and then cool. I think we're gonna do the week.
So it's gonna be Bandcamp only this Friday.
Sweet.
Just because, you know, as independent artists, we don't really make a lot from streaming, so we want to give people a chance. If they want to support, they can support through Bandcamp, purchase the album. But next Friday, the following Friday, it'll be up on streaming platforms. So if you can't afford it, you know, stream it, share it with your homies. You know, any little bit helps.
You can afford it.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
You could sacrifice. Yeah, you could sacrifice a Starbucks coffee one day and just be like, oh, I need some music.
I mean, these albums, you know, they're like what, almost $1 a song. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
costs you way more than $1 to make that song. So
Yeah.
it doesn't take much for me to be like, hey, I appreciate what you guys put into this
Yeah.
to go buy the album. So
Yeah.
this is me telling the viewers, go buy the album.
Yeah.
Like if you
I
want to
appreciate
listen to it first and you like
Yeah.
it, then go buy it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Buy the
Hey,
album.
by all means,
It's
man,
worth the buy.
Okay.
and we appreciate the support in whatever form it comes in, man. So if you are able to, please go buy the album when it drops on Bandcamp this Friday. If not, you know what I mean, like stream it, share it. Like if you're gonna stream it, at least share it with
Yeah.
with your people, you know what I mean?
Send it
Because
out.
the more it gets around,
That's
the
it,
more
man.
it helps us out, for
It
sure.
helps.
Are y'all going to be doing any shows or any performance of this?
Yeah, we're actually doing like an album release listening party this Friday at the Commission. So
Yes,
if
sir.
anybody in the Orlando area, 10 p.m. Eastern time, Friday, June 23rd, we'll be at the Commission Beer Chamber.
Yeah.
And we'll be just vibing out, listening to the album live. We have a DJ Short Shot on the ones and twos. So
Cool.
and then we'll have like a very limited run of CDs available if anybody wants to buy a physical copy, and if you want
Nice.
us to sign it, we'll have Sharpies on Deckington. We'll sign them for you.
Nice.
And yeah, man. So like I said, if you're in the Orlando area or even just in Florida in general, man, come up. Like we're very hospitable over here. So
Yeah.
we'd love to see you guys listen and experience the album live for the first time at the Commission. So
Awesome. Well, as someone who's heard it, I wish I could fly out to Orlando this weekend and be there with you guys to hear it live with you guys in the room. I think that would be just a cool experience. So I'm gonna try and get this episode out tomorrow so people can hear it. But
Appreciate
it,
I gotta
man.
edit it tonight. But man, I thank you guys so much for hopping on today and being patient with me being late today. But
It's all good,
It's
bro.
all good.
man,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
you being on, man.
Man, awesome. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Go check out Beanies and Snapbacks. Drops on Bandcamp this weekend. I'm gonna put a link in the description. Thanks for checking in. Hit that like and subscribe. Donate to 520 Collective. Subscribe to our Telegram. Whatever you got to do to support Christian hip hop independent artists. That's what we're here to do. Have a great night, y'all. I'm gonna stop the recording.